Okay. Welcome to the regular council meeting of Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 at 4:40 p.m. in council chambers and via Zoom. We acknowledge that the town of Kirkland Lake is located on the unceded traditional territory of Algonquin peoples, including Beaver House First Nation and unceded territory of other Indigenous peoples. We recognize the presence of the Algonquin, Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Cree, and Métis people in our community since time immemorial and honor their stewardship and care of these lands. We hereby affirm our continued commitment to and responsibility to reconciliation. Call to order at 4:40 and a moment of silence. Item number 2, approval of the agenda. May I have a mover? Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Owen. Madam Clerk, Deputy Clerk.
Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 be approved as circulated.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. None noted this evening. Item number 4, petitions and delegations. There are none tonight. Item number 5, acceptance of minutes and recommendations. May I have a mover for council minutes? Councillor Owen, and seconded by Councillor Shava. Madam Deputy Clerk.
So was that Owen?
Owens and Councillor Shava.
All right, be it resolved that council approve the minutes of the following meeting, minutes of the regular meeting of council held December 3rd, 2024.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 6, reports of municipal officers and communications. May I have a mover for the 2024 reserve funds and year-end transfers? Councillor Owens and Councillor Dykens as seconder. Owens with an S, Dyken. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
All right. Be it resolved that report number 2024-Corp-044 entitled 2024 Reserves, Reserve Funds, and Year-End Transfers be received. And finally, that council direct the treasurer to complete the following transfers related to the 2024 fiscal year end. Any net revenues from sundry land sales to the Community Improvement Program Reserve. Any net revenues from the sale of land located on Archer Drive to the Archer Drive Reserve Fund. Any net revenues from the lease of the daycare building on Queen Street to Daycare Reserve. Any winter control surplus, i.e. actual expenses less than budget, to the Winter Control Stabilization Reserve. Any operating surplus to the Reserve for Working Capital. Any surplus in waterworks to the Waterworks Reserve Fund. Any surplus in wastewater to the Wastewater Reserve Fund. Any unspent portion of tax levy dollars for 2023 capital projects to the Infrastructure Capital Reserve. Amounts from the Infrastructure Capital Reserve to fund any overspent portion of capital projects, excluding waterworks and wastewater capital projects, completed in 2024 where no alternative sources of funding are available to the extent that a balance exists in that reserve. Amounts from the Waterworks Reserve Fund to fund any overspent portion of waterworks capital projects completed in 2024 where no alternative sources of funding are available to the extent that a balance exists in that reserve fund. And amounts from the Wastewater Reserve Fund to fund any overspent portion of wastewater capital projects completed in 2024 where no alternative sources of funding are available to the extent that a balance exists in that reserve fund.
Thank you for that. Welcome Lloyd Crocker, Treasurer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through the council. I'm glad somebody else had to read that. So this is more or less a housekeeping type of report. There's an awful lot of detail in there, and much of it is really very important to us on a budget and a year-to-year basis of trying to manage the finances of the corporation. For the most part, it's pretty much what you've seen in the past. I haven't really changed anything. I did want to draw attention, you'll see, and there's a mistake in it as well, on page 2, under the discussion, we talk about the Kirkland Lake Public Library Board. Third line, it says are typically, and it says to the corporation, that's supposed to be retained by the corporation. And that's just to be consistent. The library board has requested to keep their surplus. As a general rule, we don't let departments keep their surpluses. They just become part of the big pool The exceptions are on that list in the front that we just had to listen to. And that's just a reflection of the fact that any department could run a surplus in any particular year, but most departments run deficits. And we don't really want to be picking winners and choosers, winners and losers when we get to the end of the budget process. If there's specific reasons, and which the list in the front had very specific reasons why we may move surpluses around or sales or those kind of things, they're usually driven by council decisions or they're policies that have been put in place in the past that we're just trying to be consistent with. So nothing wrong with the library asking, it's just, being consistent with what we've done in the past. I see it was there last year and I'll kind of follow my sword about that one in the sense that, I was still trying to kind of find my way with some of the stuff we're filing and that, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship, and I'm not sure if this question is appropriate, so you can rule me out of order if I'm out of order. The Archer Drive Reserve Fund, I'm not sure why we have that. I know initially, it's my understanding it was set up for things like incubator businesses and stuff. We own virtually no land on Archer Drive anymore, so what are we using that for? And do we need to keep money on the Archer Drive Reserve Fund?
Through you, Madam Mayor. It's my understanding it essentially served a twofold purpose. The primary one is you're putting some money in the bank because eventually all of the land's going to be used. And we'll have to start looking for somewhere else to have some industrial space for future users. So that's the primary element of it. The secondary element is depending on who the users are on Archer Drive, we may need to spend some money, in the infrastructure to enable those kind of users. So that's my understanding of what it was created for.
Thank you.
Councillor Dykens?
And you, Madam Mayor, to the treasurer. I understand why we need to do this now, and this is legislated, and you're asking for kind of a blanket resolution. At one point, like in the budgetary process, will we have the actual figures for each of these?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Dykens. In the audited financial statements, you will actually see the real transfers into the reserves and reserve funds. Hopefully early, when I say early, January, possibly February, I'll be doing some reporting on capital as well as the year-to-date figures. And there's some discussion in there as well, because capital often digs deep into the reserves. So there's a couple of places to see the movement in the reserves.
Councillor Owens?
And just for clarification, to come back to the library board request, it says here the alternative. Are we indulging the library board or are we going against what the library board has asked for?
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Owens, I'm recommending we don't assume that the transfer to the surplus of any transfer to the reserve of any surplus in the library accounts. That's my recommendation. And
So we retain money.
we retain the money in the corporation for general purposes, part of the big pool.
Councillor Shamba?
Yeah, I agree with that because, and we have a case whereby, the money that, the department may need, will be more than what is in their reserve, which means that we're gonna have to go somewhere else to make up for that shortfall. So, I'm in fact in support of, just keep everything in the same pool and then we utilize them as needed. My question is, the daycare building on Queen Street, we lease that out, right? So the daycare reserve is, I would take it that that's the money that would be needed for capital improvements and all that stuff there. What else do we need that money?
Madam Mayor, that's exactly what it was designed for. Any money being made on that building was basically being put back into the reserve for future capital requirements. As long as we're in the business of renting it, we have to maintain it. There's a lot of rules with daycares, the standards that they require. So, you know, we're just putting a little bit of some money aside for, again, you'll see most of these are really quite capital oriented. And that's essentially what that is.
Follow up, please. Any amortization on that building?
Through you, Madam Mayor, for accounting purposes, we amortize all of our assets. For this purpose, we don't, we just take the pure surplus. So, and most of these transfers do not take into account amortization. We don't use amortization in our budgeting. We budget on the old way of doing it. And so amortization ends up in our financial statements, you'll see it there. And in the statements, we actually reconcile from, you know, an amortization-based accounting system, PSAP is the acronym for it, to the way we do our budget.
Anything further from members of council? I just wanna, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't note that the Tech Centennial Library, it is in question whether they are a department of the town of Kirkland Lake versus their own entity. Because they have their own act, and their own board of governance. Many municipalities do deal with them, similar to a police services board. So though I appreciate the expertise of the treasurer, it just is always a gray area whether they are or are not a board or a department of the town of Kirkland Lake. And we are currently undertaking a letter of understanding, memorandum of understanding.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
are developing an MOU with the library board. You know, we treat them as a board right now. And we hope to have that in front of council shortly.
Yep, absolutely, thank you. Anything further? I don't think we will have deputy clerk read it again if everybody's comfortable with what was said at the beginning of the conversation. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Thank you, sir. Item number 6.2, may have a mover and a seconder for quarterly municipal accommodation tax update, moved by Councillor Dykens and seconded by Councillor Owen. And, yeah, go ahead, deputy clerk.
Okay, be it resolved that report number 2024-DEB-031 entitled Quarterly Municipal Accommodations Tax Update be received for information.
And thank you. We will now welcome Director of Development and Enterprise Services, Dan Labrador. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, through you, Madam Mayor, to the rest of council. As a formality, I report every quarter MAT tax, how things are going. And tonight I'm providing you with Q3 and second meeting in January. I will do Q4, which will serve us in our first full year through the MAT tax process. Before I begin, I will let everyone know that there's been lots of discussions across Temiskaming and further north about how MAT has been rolled out in majority of communities across the north and how it is going. And it seems to be a consensus that it is going smoothly and they're showing a benefit. I've linked Q1 and Q2 for council and the public to see. Right now, we're sitting at a billed amount of $218,631. And $210,056.60 has been collected. I can also share that from when the report was written to now, that difference in a receivable has been received and we are up to date. I'm very thrilled to share with you all the first full year of the MAT and how it has gone. Since Q2 updates that I provided to council, we have received additional short-term accommodations registered. And I can share with you that I've received feedback from accounts receivable here in Treasury that the process has been going smoothly. So I'd be happy to answer any questions should you have any.
Thank you. Before opening the table, I just want to enthusiastically thank your department and especially the owners of the local accommodations who choose to do the right thing and apply this tax and remit this tax to the town. That is a service to your community, as an accommodation owner. When you remit this tax, you are building the economic future and tourist future of Kirkland Lake. So honestly, to members of the public that own accommodations, if you're doing this, you are adding to the reason why Kirkland Lake is the best environment, right? So thank you for that, and thank you to your team. Any questions, Councillor Owen?
Not a question. I just wanted to comment that I have heard no complaints from people coming to Kirkland Lake about paying this additional tax. Any place that I've gone in the last few years, I've had to pay it, and it just shows up on your bill. And so I think people are quite used to this now. Also, I can't wait till we start spending this money. No, but I mean, seriously, it's another source of revenue that we can use to improve Kirkland Lake in terms of tourism, in terms of development. And I'm so excited about that. And again, I'll just echo what the mayor said. Thank you very much, Director Dan, and your staff for all the work you've done, because previous council that I was on, we didn't get this kind of support, and now we're seeing the results. So thank you.
Anything further? Councillor Shava?
To you, Madam Chair, to the director, you indicated a difference between what was actually billed and what was collected. The difference has receded or eliminated.
It's been eliminated.
Oh, okay. I thought you said receded.
We received it, it's been collected.
2-0, okay, all right. Speaking about spending the money, so the 50% that's going to the Kirkland Lake Tourism Development Corporation. So what's the next step once that money gets there? So, and when do we get the money out?
To you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Shava. That's a very good question. In our previous council meeting for the Economic Development and Tourism Strategic Plan outlined different initiatives that we will take in 2025 in utilizing those funds to kickstart tourism spending and tourism initiatives in Kirkland Lake and area. So that will be started in the first quarter of 2025, and will full budget will be given to council for adoption prior to.
Anything further? Thank you, sir. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 6.3, traffic calming initiative. May I have a mover? Councillor Owen, seconded by Councillor Ranger.
Be it resolved that report number 2024-PW-015 entitled Traffic Calming Initiative be received. And finally, that council approve the proposed traffic calming initiative as recommended and presented with the purchase of 2 traffic calming silhouettes at a cost of $2,800 inclusive of HST to be included in the Public Works Department's 2025 operational budget.
Thank you, and we welcome Director of Public Works, Stefan Forte. Thank you.
Good evening. The safety and well-being of our residents, particularly children, is a priority for the town of Kirkland Lake. Tonight I present to you a report titled Traffic Calming Initiative, which outlines 2-pronged approach to address speeding concerns and enhance road safety in our community. The proposed initiative includes 1, the child silhouette cutouts. These highly visible reminders will encourage drivers to exercise caution in high pedestrian areas. At a cost of $2,800, we recommend purchasing 2 silhouettes, 1 boy and 1 girl, to be rotated at key locations monthly from April to November of each year. This flexible approach allows us to target areas of concerns effectively. There's also speed radars. Utilizing the radar units already in our possession, we propose their strategic placement in areas with known speeding issues. These radars provide real-time feedback to drivers and valuable data for ongoing traffic safety assessments. This initiative was informed by prior council discussions and reflects a balanced response to road safety challenges. Alternatives such as speed humps, permit signage, or enforcement-only approaches were considered but deemed less effective due to higher cost, implementation challenges, and limited flexibility. The recommended measures are cost-effective, adaptable, and compatible with our winter maintenance operations, ensuring minimal disruptions to other essential services. With your approval, the silhouettes will be included in the Public Works 2025 operations budget. This modest investment will contribute significantly to improving road safety and fostering a culture of caution and care among drivers in our community. Thank you.
Councillor Ranger?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I have a question in regards to, in the whole report, I didn't see the consideration of more stop signs, specifically four-way stop signs. Is that something that will be considered in the future, or it wasn't looked at as an option at all, and that was sort of concerning for me?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Ranger, that was not the focus of this traffic initiative. It's not something that was looked at. That wasn't the focus.
Councillor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship. To Director Stefan, thank you very much for such a detailed report. I really appreciate the work that went into that. Ever since I got on council, I've strongly believed that if we make Kirkland Lake a safer community, a more child-friendly community, the better it will be to attract new families to the town. And as part of that, I've been pushing for traffic initiatives, especially those concerning children. And I must admit, touch wood, we do have a good safety record when it comes to pedestrian accidents with vehicles. So this is a great report. I hope that it goes through the budget process and gets approved. The only suggestion I have is we have 2 radar units. Now, traditionally, when we put them out, we've put them on one side of the street and the other side of the street. I'm suggesting that we could get more bang for our buck if we put one on one street and one in a totally different area. That's just a suggestion. Maybe it doesn't work. That's just the way I think. And I'll be the first one to admit I could be all wrong. I'm not a traffic expert. So I just throw that out for consideration. Thank you again.
Yeah, Councillor Dykens?
To you, Madam Mayor, to the director. You mentioned rotating to different areas of town. How were those areas determined, or how will they be determined where you're going to place them? And did you say monthly they would be changed? I missed that. Thank you.
Through Madam Mayor to Councillor Dykens. The areas of focus was definitely around school areas and along areas of Main Street. And as far as moving them around every month, yes, we'll be moving them around every month. And the sample schedule was provided as part of this report, but that's not written in stone. Suggestions are appreciated, and that can be modified with time. Absolutely.
Sorry, before Councillor. Go ahead.
To you, Madam Mayor. Also, we will of course be receiving information from the OPP if there's any problem areas they would like to us to focus on. So there'll be information exchange between both parties.
Councillor Owens?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I appreciate the report's really detailed, and the pictures at the end really clearly indicate where these signs will be going, the speed signs. My only concern, and it's with the radar signs, July, we've got them installed on Archer Drive, which I think it's an awesome location because people seem to forget it is not a provincial highway. It is a municipal street and the speed limit is not 80 kilometers an hour. But these machines, parts are removable quite easily. We've had that happen before in the past, and Archer Drive doesn't have street lights, or so at nighttime, my concern would be parts being taken off of them. I don't know, remedy that's my only concern, but.
To Councillor Owens. Yes, that's definitely a concern, and we've noticed that could be absolutely in any location in town. But we'll definitely keep an eye out for areas like that where they're darker, and if we see that it's an increased risk of damage or vandalism, we'll have to relocate them.
Anything further from members of council? Okay, Councillor Shabba?
Through you, Madam Chair, I was looking at the brochure, the company is talking about flexible and rigid. Which ones are we, which one are you getting? And my other question is actually along the line of what you're saying, safeguards against vandalism or outright theft. If we have ones that are very much easy to move around. So first one is, I mean, I see this brochure, is it flexible or rigid? I'm not sure. Is
Madam Mayor, to Councillor Shabbat.
yes,
I believe we have the intention to go with a flexible model,
okay, all right,
and I do understand that they are very much movable.
yes.
They're not gonna be anchored permanently in any one location.
Anything further from members of council? Nothing noted, all in favor? Opposed, I didn't think you'd be opposed. Yeah, item carried unanimous, thank you, sir. Item number 6.4, 10-year road reconstruction plan update, may I have a mover? Councillor Owens, seconded by Councillor Kylie. Madam Clerk, Deputy Clerk,
Be it resolved that report number 2024-PW-014 entitled 10-year road reconstruction plan update be received for information.
thank you. Director Forte, you may continue.
All right, good evening, everyone again, Mayor and Council. I'm pleased to present the update to the town's 10-year road reconstruction plan. This report highlights our strategic adjustments to ensure we continue addressing Kirkland Lake's critical infrastructure needs while maintaining financial responsibility. Since the plan's introduction in March 2023, and its revision later that year, new information about our water distribution system has significantly influenced our priorities. This update reflects a strategic shift, integrating water system upgrades with road reconstruction projects. By aligning these efforts, we address both surface and underground infrastructure needs in a cost-effective and sustainable manner. A key example of this approach is a long-anticipated project along Taylor Avenue. For years, the community has awaited improvements in this area, but the cost of fully reconstructing the infrastructure and roadway has proven prohibitive. Under our new plan, we will reline the water main on that same stretch of Taylor Avenue in 2025 and repave the same portion in 2026. This phased approach balances the need for critical upgrades with the town's fiscal capacity, allowing us to deliver meaningful improvements while avoiding unsustainable costs. More broadly, the revised plan shifts to undertake one large-scale infrastructure project every 3 years, supplemented by a smaller project in the interim. This approach, combined with innovative technologies like pipe relining, allows us to extend the life of aging infrastructure, reducing disruptions, and maximizing the value of every dollar spent. This update demonstrates our commitment to balancing critical infrastructure improvements with fiscal responsibility, ensuring sustainable progress for Kirkland Lake. Thank you.
Any questions from members of council? Councillor Owens?
It's not a question, it's just a comment. I'm so glad to see the 10-year plan. You know, for years, the town operated, or seemed to operate, I shouldn't say operated because I wasn't involved, seemed to operate on a year-by-year basis. And it almost seemed like those that complained the loudest got the results. No matter what streets we do or don't do, we're gonna hear that my street should have been done. But the fact that we've got a 10-year plan that hopefully we can financially live up to, I think is real progress for the town and something that's been needed for at least 40 years. So thank you very much.
Councillor Owens?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it's more of a comment than a question. Fully appreciate the fact that there's a plan B in place if plan A doesn't work, so that we're not just sitting on extra funding or money or what it is. So we can quickly pivot to something else if plan A doesn't work.
anything further from members of council? I want to commend you again for hard work. I know this is, I think, the fourth to get the can for the 10-year roads plan. We were very ambitious when we first presented that first 10-year plan. And I think this is more realistic and it reflects more fiscal responsibility, understanding how expensive things are. And like Councillor Owen said, no matter what road, section of road, miles and miles of road that we actually do get accomplished, there will be people that simply want their roads done. And after umpteen numbers of decades, I don't blame anyone thinking that we are way behind. But every day is a new day, right? And we are definitely trying, and this 10-year plan is the best one we've seen yet. We just get better and better with engineering and with really facing that we need to include our water in this plan for not only a sustainable community that we have now, but for continuation of our community in the future. And I always smile when I say that because I know good things are coming, but we just have to be patient. So any other comments from council? All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Thank you very much, sir. Item number 7, considerations of notice of motions. There are none this evening. Item number 8, introduction, reading, and consideration of bylaws. May I have a mover for bylaw number 24-091, Councillor Shava, seconded by Councillor Owen.
All right, be resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and the municipal clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 24-091, being a bylaw authorizing the execution of a transfer payment agreement with His Majesty the King and Right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Solicitor General, for the local priorities funding stream for the third year, 2024 to 25, of the Community Safety and Policing Grant.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 9, questions from council to staff. There was one item submitted from Councillor Lad Shava, winter parking bylaw enforcement. What is the threshold for towing violations? And who will be speaking to this evening?
If you mind, I'll ask Director Laverty to come up and give a more detailed answer. Usually the process is you have a ticket, there's no movement, then you get towed. However, I'll ask the director to give a more in-depth overview of this process when it comes to parking file enforcement in the wintertime.
Thank you. You may proceed, Director.
Thank you. Good evening, through Madam Mayor to council, to address Councillor Shava's question. I'm going to use this time wisely just to do a little bit of an overview of this very vast parking bylaw that we have here in Kirkland Lake. I will start by saying that this bylaw has seen 21 amendments since 2017. That is an unsurmountable amount of amendments to be brought to a bylaw without a bylaw being rewritten. I can share that the parking bylaw is slated to be rewritten in 2025. But I would like to take the time to say that that will be a very large undertaking that will take part with development enterprise services, along with public works. The parking bylaw is vast. That deals with, earlier there was a comment about stop signs, four-way stops, parking, accessible parking, along with winter parking restrictions, etc. Tonight's question regarding winter parking and towing. A part of the amendments to this bylaw that have taken place was that it was a warning ticket tow. It is the will of council to make that decision, and that decision to change that had been made. Should any changes need to take place when we rewrite the bylaw in 2025, can be undertaken. Currently, the complaints coming in, maybe by council and to members of staff, that need to be addressed are 2 very large vehicles that are not standard size vehicles. These vehicles cannot be towed by our one provider here in Kirkland Lake. They come at a very hefty cost and upwards of $250 an hour plus $1,500 to $2,000 a tow by a specialized tow that was to take place this morning for 2 vehicles. Due to the roads, that specialized tow was, I believe, taking a snowplow out of the ditch along Highway 66. I just want council and the community to understand that there's been a lot of items undertaken for these 2 specific vehicles that have been parked illegally. And it's important to know that it is a systematic approach that needs to be taken to remove said vehicles. When it comes to a regular vehicle, is much easier, and the bylaw outlines that a lot easier. Secondly, I'd like to say that when we do have snow in the forecast, we have also mobilized our bylaw officer to come in at 5 AM. And this has taken place, and we have seen a lot of movement, and we've had positive feedback from Public Works Department when they are removing snow from the streets. We will continue to do that, but I think it's important to know that the parking bylaw is from November 1st to April 30th. And it is between the hours of midnight and 7 AM. Bylaw officer, the single bylaw officer for the town of Kirkland Lake normally starts work at 8 AM. Should the will of council be to make that changes, there is definitely going to be repercussions budget-wise. But we are going to be undertaking the parking bylaw in its entirety in early 2025. But I just want everyone to know that it will be a large undertaking, but I can guarantee it will be updated in 2025. I will take any questions, should there be any.
Thank you for that. Before opening the table to discussion, I just want to note that the snow parking bylaw has been in place as long as I can remember, from those same hours. In the past, it was, because that was prior to me being on council, the local PD, and then after that, the OPP would be used for enforcement because they had the special constables as well. They had 4 of them. And that was specifically for bylaw infractions, as well as using regular OPP officers. It is a very large complaint. We get the same as council members, we get the same complaint over and over and over again. And definitely snow removal, parking and roads, they're the trifecta of what you hear day after day at the grocery store, walking your dog, like wherever you are, those are the trifecta. And it is very important to note, there used to be 4 special constables. Now we have 1 bylaw officer. So that I think we need to, as a community, and not like just council, but as a community, take that under consideration. At the same time, being a member of the public, being a sitting member on council, it is exceedingly frustrating to see people not adhering to this bylaw because it has been in place for so very long. Councillor Shabby, you were the individual that brought the question forward. I'll allow you to speak first.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you, Director, for your explanation of how things are going. When we have a bylaw, the bylaw will have a component that is the enforcement. So if our enforcement is ineffectual, then that bylaw is useless, plain and simple. And I think this particular case, we need to be very much robust in our enforcement. I get it that what the cost implications, but again, that's what it is. What it is, you have a small vehicle or you have a bigger vehicle. I don't think that bylaw made any exception to anything. So my question here is that how many tickets do you really have to get before you get to it? So if it's 5 or 6 or 7, then after that, that vehicle must be gone. I don't care if it's half ton or mini Mitsubishi. So people, yes, we got a lot of people in town, 80-90% of people that are really, not given any issue, they don't mind. But we have others that are not, so we should be really, our enforcement should be really very robust. So I get it, the cost implication or whatnot, but again, we see a lot of vehicles. Not this year, it'll be the year before, and people are playing games, people are parking on sidewalk and whatnot, I think we should endeavor to spend the money to get those vehicles towed. Plain and simple. If we want to make the bylaw to be effective and be fair to everyone that live in the community.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councilor Shaba, I don't disagree. As council knows, my department is 90% enforcement based. We also have to realize that we have gone through a period where in many areas of enforcement was not strong enough. And we have spent the better part of a year educating the public to the areas that they need to. We have done parking education, we have done building permit education. We have spent a lot of time trying to, in essence, turn the Titanic. And we will continue to do that, but I think the best way to do that would to enhance enforcement along with an effective bylaw that is clear and precise, instead of a bylaw currently that has 21 amendments that is very difficult to enforce because it does not have teeth.
Well, just follow up.
Follow up?
Madam Chair. Yeah, okay, I get it. My main question is how many parking tickets do people get? How many do you have to get? After which the vehicle will be towed? Because that's the enforcement part now. I get your frustration. I understand the various revisions to the bylaw, whatnot, but that's not the issue here. The issue is that, yes, we have a bylaw, and that bylaw clearly stipulated that how many parking tickets that you need to get. I believe it's one, after which that vehicle will be towed. No exception to the rule.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councilor Shaba. It is one. And the difficult portion of it is the interpretation of the bylaw does not state that it's one that's still sitting on the windshield of the vehicle. So to think of somebody that gets a ticket in town, pays the ticket, and then we ticket it again. If we have to come back to the same vehicle parked in the same space and we've issued a ticket, the next item is going to be a tow. In the cases that we're dealing with on the one street that majority of the complaints are coming from, that vehicle is a little out of the ordinary considering it's 3 ton and it needs a specialized tow. But we can tow after one ticket.
Yeah, I see, in the absence in the bylaw, it is one ticket that is towed. In the absence of the bylaw.
Thank you for that. Councillor Owens first, and then Councillor Ranger.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll be honest, I was one of the councillors pushing or emailing on this one. I appreciate I had submitted a question to council, but it got answered differently, but that's okay. I hear the message. It's a bylaw. Our bylaw is red tape, right? It's been changed many times. It's ineffective. I know this is a special circumstance as well. And most people in the town of Kirkland cooperate with the town. You need a special type of individual to resist the bylaw. A month and a half into the winter, your vehicle is covered in snow. It used to be black, it is now white. There's more to it than it's lack of cooperation. So I'm looking forward to a new bylaw being brought to us in 2025. And I hope in that bylaw, parking timing on Kirk Street is also included.
Councillor Ranger.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'll ask my questions I have a question and then I have 2 comments. Can you share with us how many tickets you have, initiated so far since November 1st?
Yeah, through Madam Mayor, to Councillor Ranger, on a normal circumstance, we'd be in the 10 to 12 range. When we had sent bylaw out to do through a snowfall, we laid 29 charges.
Thank you. Just thought the community might wanna be more aware as to the work is being done. And then my comments / suggestion, going forward with the new bylaw coming in 2025, that there be some incentive that people don't wanna receive the ticket because it's gonna be a hefty one, and I will fully support that. And would it at all be possible to look at or consider, from November to April, I'll say the word deputizing, but that may not be the proper term, Works Department, personnel to be able to assist with issuing those tickets prior to or during, plowing, so that, it is much more efficient and effective. So those are not questions necessarily for you to answer, but to consider, when you bring it forward to us again in 2025.
Thank you.
Anything further from members of council? Council Crowley?
Yeah, through your worship. I can appreciate what you're saying about these two vehicles in particular. How you're going to enforce, when you pick up the vehicle and put it in storage. This one particular vehicle not far from here, as we know, that vehicle's not worth 2,000 or 3,000, I don't think. And it's like it's been abandoned. I don't know what the answer is to it, but I can appreciate the frustration, because we don't have the bite in the bylaw. And yet we have an abandonment of vehicles. I don't know how we can deal with it.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Kylie. That is a very valid point. I can't speak to the circumstances of the specific vehicle, but I can say that there are avenues that can be taken in regard to a lien being placed on the vehicle, but.
So we're just getting real close to identifiable individuals. Do you have wording for this motion? Yeah, okay, perfect. So anything more from members of council in general? Okay, may I have a mover for the information received? Councillor Shava, seconded by Councillor Kylie. Go ahead, Madam Deputy Clerk.
Great, be resolved that council receive administration's response to the question posed for information.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Thank you very much. Item number 10, notices of motion. None noted this evening. Item number 11, councillors' reports. Do any members of council have anything to note? Councillor Ranger.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. Good evening. We did have a TPR board meeting yesterday, which will end the year, and it was a lovely change of venue as we were in the family room, and it really gave us some reflection as to the type of environment that guests and residents have when they're having a visit. The other really nice thing is that we received an email today with suggestions from a grade 9 geography class. I was able to read all of them, and it was several observations. First of all, there was some real consistency in the recommendations, and they were not out in left field. They were completely reasonable. I also observed that these young people were quite empathetic and quite aware of others in the community other than just the youth. Specifically, a lot of their attention was on the environment and seniors, which was nice. They certainly had some great suggestions. I would like to make the observation that council and the town of Kirkland Lake are not responsible for bringing in specific businesses, But as a town, we certainly can encourage and support businesses coming in to meet the needs that they specifically identified. And I hope some of them want to be business people in our community and create those wonderful ideas that they had. I certainly, as a member of the beautification committee, will also be sharing some of the suggestions because they were very simple and I think very doable. So I was so happy to hear from youth in the community. It's part of the challenge to do that. And this geography class did it in such a clear and effective manner that I really appreciated it. Thank you.
Counselor Owens?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I, along with Mayor White, had the opportunity on December 4th to take part in the final Temiskaming Health Unit Board of Health meeting. It was bittersweet. It was exciting because we're moving on to bigger things, but it was sad because it is also the last meeting of Temiskaming Board of Health, so we're giving up that local control to a bigger entity. There's some great news shared during that meeting. We did receive, or the government did agree to all our demands in moving forward. It gave us an extra $5.1 million in funding for 2024. Had we not received that, the specific amount for Temiskaming, I think it was about roughly $400 and some odd thousand. Had we not received that funding, the municipal levy, or the demand on the municipal levy would have been an increase of 40% to maintain status quo. So, or all other alternative was to start cutting services. So we somewhat dodged the bullet on that one. The government did agree to or funding for the new Northeastern Public Health for 2025 and 2026. One concern that was voiced to me today is that, well, control is being moved to Timmins. And it is. I work for a bigger board that is Timmins centric. I know what it's like dealing or fighting Timmins for your share of the pie. We are losing representation. We're going from 13 board members to 5, I believe, on these. That's, if I did the math properly, we're going to 5. But we didn't have a choice. We were backed up into a corner, and I can promise for my 2 years left on council, I will be a loudmouth for Kirkland Lake. I fought for Kirkland Lake on THU since I've been there. I plan on doing it on Northeastern Public Health. And hopefully whoever follows in our footsteps 2 years from now gets the same message and continues doing that for the new Northeastern Public Health. There will be no cuts in services. It's the same level of service, no cuts in staff. It will complement what we couldn't do at THU. We'll be able to offer now with the new board. And public health, it's the acronym doesn't make sense to me yet, but yeah. So that's my report.
Counselor Owen?
Yes, through you, your worship. First off, I want to thank you for having the clerk forward the student letters to us. I was so impressed with the maturity that the students showed, and I think tonight's council meeting sort of answered one of them that kept coming up, and that was the bad roads. So we do have a 10-year plan, but you know what? I'm so impressed with the students, the way the letters were written, the realistic part, and you have to remember, they don't know how government works. So although, like Councillor Janice pointed out, some of the things are sort of beyond our control to a great extent, they are realistic. And I would like to see, and the mayor may slap me for this one, I would like to see the mayor write a letter of thanking this teacher and students and letting them know that we were suitably impressed. And hopefully they'll continue to keep an interest in Kirkland Lake. Now, having said that, often when we live in a town, we don't see everything that's going on in the town because we see it all the time, right? It becomes just part of the community. On the weekend, I was at a hockey tournament and I was talking to the grandfather of one of my grandchildren's friends. And I'm not exactly sure when he moved up, but it was, I would say within the last year, he moved up from, and I hate this term because I would call it Southern Ontario, but I think technically it's Central Ontario, to Kirkland Lake. And so I asked him, I said, how did you find out about Kirkland Lake? Like, why? And this was a man who did his research. He did a lot of research before he moved. And he looked at North Bay, Sudbury, Englehart, Kirkland Lake, and a whole bunch of other small communities in northeastern Ontario. He chose Kirkland Lake because of the number of activities there are for children. Okay, and that's a compliment to our rec department and to volunteers in the community that provide air cadets and brownie, Girl Guide movement. I'd never heard anybody say that before. But you know what? That's a real thing we have to offer and we can, you know, promote the town with. And he wanted to move to an area where he sold his house or whatever he had in this town. And he's now living mortgage free. So he's basically retired now. But that's something we see it all the time. We hear about it every day on the radio, this program and that program. You know, but here's a guy who did the research and moved here because of that. So I just wanted to mention that to council. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Councillor Dykens.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, to council. I had the opportunity recently to represent council at the Kirkland Lake Chamber of Commerce meeting. There were a number of things that went on, but this was the highlight for me, and I think it's worthwhile to share. Of course, the 3 winners of the float contest, they are asked to name a nonprofit group that would benefit from their $150 winning. And I was very happy that one of them donated to the Encore Club, so they received $150, and the other 2 both donated to the food bank, which is absolutely critical, especially this year. So that was a highlight for me, and I just wanted to share that with council.
Thank you for that. Anything further from members of council? Before starting the review of 2024, I want to first congratulate Councillor Pat Kiley on being elected to the executive of the Encore Club. I know you will be a terrific addition to that board and, you know, continue to success with the Encore Club because the services they provide to seniors are certainly needed. And second, as Councillor Ranger and Councillor Owen noted, I wanted to acknowledge the 16 students of Mr. Dean Zavit's grade 9 geography class who took the time to engage directly with council of the town of Kirkland Lake with letters. After reading each one, they were shared with the whole of council. More than 20 items were brought forward by the students with resounding support of a few items: better roads and sidewalks with year-round maintenance, the demolition of abandoned buildings, increased parks and green spaces, including increasing trees and plants for beautification in the downtown core, and more businesses, clubs, and activities of interest for the youth in our community. Some suggestions included insights on the specific topics of economic development and diversification, promoting tourism, the housing and drug crisis, and calling for greater community engagement and collaboration. I want to mention that last term, Councillor Owen and I brought forth the Youth Council Committee, and one of their recommendations was a safer way to cross Government Road at Burnside. And this year, as part of the Connecting Link project, a new pedestrian crossing was installed there. Though council administration and staff cannot implement all these suggestions, I want to assure not only the students, but all members of the community, we are aware of the challenges in the community, and we are actively working on pathways forward, one step at a time. As this is the last regular council meeting of 2024, I hope the following list of highlights will speak to this very thing. I know at times after 12 months, 22 meetings of council, 6 conferences, and countless committee meetings between the 7 of us, it's hard to remember all the tangible things we've accomplished as a team. But I want to assure council and members of the public, we are moving Kirkland Lake forward, and the town has a lot of accomplishments to be proud of when looking back at 2024. The completion of the strategic plan for both the corporation and economic development and tourism. The implementation of the municipal accommodation tax after a long 5-year road has resulted in, as reported this evening, over $200,000 to be used in 2025 and beyond to bolster tourism and economic development. The successful exit of the contract with KL Solar. The successful exit of the contract with Ontario Heritage Trust. The support of Oaks Project, Heritage Arts and Culture Group. The Duncan Avenue roadwork, the Churchill Drive roadwork, the completion of the Connecting Link roadwork on the east side of Government Road, being awarded Connecting Link funding for the 2nd year in a row, this time of nearly $3 million for road work in 2025 on the west side of Government Road, the demolition of 7 derelict and unsafe buildings and structures by their property owners, not taxpayers, the remediation and reestablishment of 2 sections of sidewalk on Tweedsmuir, one across from Federal School and along Civic Park, the establishment of a new walking path on Burnside, coming up to the new pedestrian crosswalk on Government Road, the unveiling of the Tech Centennial Library's Children's Department Refresh Project, funded completely by generous donation of businesses and individuals, the awarding of lands to Keepers of the Circle for construction of a 22,000 square foot modular home building facility, and the bylaw in support of Agnico Eagle's drilling program and subsequent building near the wastewater treatment plant. Though I am proud of what the Kirkland Lake team has accomplished during the past year, that is not to say we don't recognize the work yet to be done. There will always be more work to be done. For every task we complete, 3 more wait in the wings or appear out of nowhere as the flood of April of 2024. The only thing I ask members at this table, the administration in the room, the staff working diligently and often thanklessly every day, and the community at large is this: merely continue to do your best every day, whatever your best looks like. Forgive me if I sound cliche, but the road is long and the work is hard and the fires require extinguishing and will continue to crop up. But together as a team, council, administration, staff, volunteers, and community members, we can build the Kirkland Lake we want to see. I am exceedingly excited for the new year, and all I can say is let's see what we can accomplish together in 2025. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Dykens, Councillor Kylie, thank you. Madam Deputy Clerk.
Great, be resolved that the verbal updates from members of council be received.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 12, additional information. We do have a proclamation. Whereas Alzheimer Awareness Month is recognized during the month of January 2025 to raise awareness about Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. And whereas Alzheimer's disease is a degenerative brain disorder that most often occurs in people over age 65, but can occur in adults in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. And whereas there's over 733,040 Canadians living with Alzheimer's disease, with a projected of almost 1 million Canadians living with dementia by 2031. And whereas the Alzheimer's Society Cochrane-Temiskaming provides programs and services to all citizens of the Cochrane-Temiskaming district. And whereas the Alzheimer's Society Cochrane-Temiskaming encourages the council, residents, businesses, and services of Kirkland Lake to break the stigma and fear of exclusion attached to Alzheimer's and dementia, and build their community into a dementia-friendly community, that supports those living with dementia, to maintain an active role in our community, to take part in new things, and to continue activities they enjoy with confidence. Now, therefore, I, Stacy White, Mayor of the Town of Kirkland Lake, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2025 as Alzheimer Awareness Month in the Town of Kirkland Lake and build towards becoming a dementia-friendly community. Mover, Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Owen. Thank you.
Be it resolved that council sanction the proclamation for National Alzheimer Awareness Month, January 2025 in the Town of Kirkland Lake.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 13, we will now take a brief recess before moving into closed. Okay, we'll rise from recess. Can I have a mover to move into closed session? Councillor Dyken, seconded by Councillor Ranger.
Be it resolved that council adjourn in camera pursuant to section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations or employee negotiations, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local boards, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including the communications necessary for that purpose, and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on or on behalf of the municipality or local board at 5:57 p.m. for the following reasons. Item 13.1, asset management staffing request, and item 13.2, verbal update, corporate staffing quarter.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Okay, so we will now rise from in camera. Can I have a mover? Councillor Ranger, seconded by Councillor Owen.
Be it resolved that council reconvene in open session at 6:30 p.m.
All in favor? Opposed? Item carried unanimous. Any matters of pecuniary, arising from in camera of pecuniary interest? There was none noted. Item number 14.1, asset management staffing request. May I have a mover? Councillor Dyken, seconded by Councillor Ranger.
Be resolved that report number 2024-4-045 entitled Asset Management Staffing Request be received. And that council direct the chief administrative officer to extend the employment contract of the asset management finance intern until April 30th, 2025. And finally, that $17,000 be allocated in the corporate services department's operating budget for the said employment contract extension.
Any questions or comments from council? None noted. All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 15, confirmation bylaw number 24-0292. May I have a mover, Councillor Dyken, seconded by Councillor Owen.
Be resolved that the following bylaw be read, numbered, passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 24-092, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Tuesday, December 17th, 2024.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 16, adjournment. May I have a mover, Councillor Dyken?
Councillor Dyken moved to adjourn the regular meeting of council at 6:31 p.m.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.